The stars looked different today. Captain James Reed had spent enough time on the International Space Station to know when something wasn't right. He floated near the observation window, his coffee bag drifting beside him as he studied the unusual readings on his tablet. "Control, this is ISS. We're picking up some strange patterns in our sensor array," he reported, his voice calm despite the growing unease in his stomach. "It's like there are shadows where there shouldn't be any." The response from Houston came back with a slight delay. "Copy that, ISS. We're seeing similar anomalies from multiple ground stations. Can you describe what you're looking at?" Reed took another sip from his coffee bag before answering. "It's easier to say what I'm not seeing. There are spots where the stars just disappear for a few seconds, then reappear, like something big is passing in front of them." Down on Earth, things were getting stranger by the hour. At observatories across the globe, astronomers noticed their instruments picking up impossible readings. Radio telescopes detected signals that shouldn't exist, and deep space probes sent back data that made no sense. Dr. Anna Wells at the Very Large Array in New Mexico was the first to piece it together. "These aren't random anomalies," she explained to her team, pointing at the wall of screens showing various readings. "Look at the pattern. Whatever's causing this is moving in formation. And it's big, really big." The military knew something was wrong when their radar systems started showing brief glitches. General Mark Thompson sat in an underground command center, watching as reports came in from bases around the world. "They think we can't see them," he muttered, studying the patterns. "But our primitive radar works differently from whatever they're using to hide themselves." For 3 days, Earth's various space agencies and military organizations quietly tracked the anomalies. They moved closer each day, following paths that couldn't be natural. Someone had to make a decision. In a secure video conference, leaders from major nations met in secret. "We can't alert the public yet," the U.S. president said, her face grave on the screen. "But we need to prepare. Whatever's out there, they're watching us. And they think we're blind to their presence." They agreed to activate Protocol Omega, a plan so secret that most world leaders hadn't known it existed until that day. For decades, Earth had maintained hidden bunkers, backup systems, and emergency protocols, not because they knew aliens were coming, but because humans had always been good at preparing for the worst. Captain Reed noticed the changes first. More supplies arriving on resupply missions. New equipment being installed. The ISS crew doubled, then tripled, all under the guise of routine operations. "They're getting closer," he reported one morning, watching another shadow pass across the stars. "Whatever they are, they're almost here." The Empire's scout ships maintained their perfect formation, their stealth systems making them invisible to what they considered primitive human technology. Their mission logs noted Earth as a Level 2 civilization, barely space-capable, using crude rocket technology, and limited to their own solar system. What their logs didn't mention was how humans had spent centuries telling stories about this exact moment. How every child grew up watching movies about alien invasions. How Earth's militaries had actually planned for this, even when they thought it was just a fantasy. The Empire's ships drew closer, their commanders confident in their superior technology. They didn't realize that Earth's primitive radar could see them. They didn't know about Protocol Omega. They had no idea that humans had spent generations imagining this scenario. As the massive fleet approached Earth's orbit, Captain Reed sent one final message to ground control. "They're here." Then he switched to the backup communications system, just like the protocol said. And he waited, watching the stars disappear one by one, as the greatest war humanity would ever fight was about to begin. The Empire thought they were the silent observers. They didn't realize they were being observed too. And that would be just the first of many mistakes they would make in the war they never saw coming. The Empire's ships appeared at dawn over every major city on Earth. Massive vessels broke through the clouds, their dark shapes blocking out the sun. They positioned themselves in perfect geometric formations, exactly as their first contact protocol dictated. The Empire's admiral stood on his command bridge, waiting for the panic to begin. It always began the same way with primitive worlds: chaos in the streets, crashed vehicles, mass hysteria. He had overseen 50 first contacts before. This would be no different. But something was wrong. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, "we're not seeing the expected response patterns." Down on Earth's surface, people looked up at the massive ships and did something unexpected. They followed plans. Real plans, practiced and prepared. In New York, Sam Miller walked calmly to his designated shelter point, just like he had done in the drills. All those zombie apocalypse preparations finally paying off. He joked to his neighbors as they moved together in an orderly group. Police directed traffic smoothly. Emergency services mobilized with practiced efficiency. Military units moved into pre-planned positions. It was as if the whole world had rehearsed for this moment. In a way, they had. "Status report," General Thompson demanded from inside the Mountain Command Center. "All major cities reporting in, sir," his aide responded. "Civilian evacuation protocols at 80% completion. Military assets in position. Emergency broadcast systems active and broadcasting in all languages." The Empire's admiral watched in growing confusion. Why aren't they running? They should be running. Instead, Earth's response continued with unsettling coordination. Amateur radio networks crackled to life. Internet systems rerouted through backup servers. Military units disappeared into prepared positions, using tactics practiced in countless war games. The Empire launched their standard intimidation display. Smaller ships descended, firing warning shots into empty areas. The shots were designed to demonstrate power while causing no actual damage. But Earth's military was waiting. Hidden anti-aircraft batteries tracked every ship. Missile systems locked on, but held their fire. Everything was recorded, analyzed, and shared across global defense networks. "Sir," a human lieutenant reported to General Thompson, "we're detecting gaps in their shield patterns when they fire. The energy weapons create a point of weakness for 2.3 seconds. Send that data to all commands." Thompson ordered, "But no one fires unless fired upon. Let's see what they do next." The Empire's admiral grew increasingly uneasy. This wasn't following the protocol. Primitive worlds were supposed to be simple: show force, create panic, establish control. But Earth was different. He decided to move to Phase 2, the demonstration of cultural superiority. His ships projected massive holograms into the sky, showing the glory and power of the Empire. Images of advanced cities, mighty fleets, and conquered worlds filled Earth's skies. Humanity's response: they recorded everything, analyzed every frame, and kept following their own protocols. In London, Dr. Jane Porter studied the hologram data. "Look at how their technology interfaces," she told her team. "They're using standardized systems, which means they have standardized weaknesses." The Empire's admiral finally made his announcement, his voice booming across Earth's cities in perfectly translated languages. "Your world is now under the protection of the Galactic Empire. Resist and face destruction. Submit and enjoy the benefits of imperial rule." He expected surrender. Instead, he received a simple message, broadcast simultaneously from every major nation on Earth. "We acknowledge your presence and request diplomatic talks under Article 7 of the Galactic Sentient Rights Charter." The admiral froze. How did they know about the charter? How did they even know it existed? Earth's people kept moving with purpose, following plans decades in the making. The Empire had expected panic and chaos. Instead, they found a world that had spent generations preparing for this exact moment. And that was just the beginning of their surprises. The Empire struck at midnight. Their most powerful electromagnetic pulse weapons fired simultaneously across the globe, designed to destroy all of Earth's electronics in one devastating blow. The admiral smiled as bright flashes lit up the night sky. No primitive world had ever survived this attack. But then something unexpected happened. Again. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, We're still detecting active communications from the surface. Down on Earth, in a small radio station in Montana, Major Tom Wilson sat in front of his old vacuum tube radio equipment. The retired radio operator patted his ancient machinery as reports flowed in from similar stations worldwide. "That's the funny thing about old technology," he said to his young assistant. "Sometimes it's so old, it's immune to their new tricks." The Empire's EMP attack had indeed damaged many modern systems, but humanity had backup plans. Lots of them. In military bases, commanders switched to analog equipment kept ready for exactly this scenario. Shortwave radio networks crackled to life. Old telephone exchanges, maintained for decades just in case, began routing critical communications. Status report. General Thompson demanded from his hardened command center. 70% of modern communications are down, his aide reported. But the backup networks are functioning as planned. Old tech is saving our bacon, sir. The Empire's admiral watched in growing frustration as Earth's militaries continued to operate. How were they still coordinating? His sensors showed thousands of primitive radio signals bouncing around the atmosphere. In London, a group of military vehicles from World War II, kept in working condition by history enthusiasts, rolled through the streets. Their simple engines, untouched by the EMP, carried supplies and maintained order. The Empire launched their second wave of attack. Automated drones descended toward Earth's surface, programmed to disable any remaining communication centers. But Earth's defenders had another surprise waiting. In fields and forests around the world, people like Bill Cooper, a rural electrical engineer, had built Faraday cages, simple metal structures that protected sensitive equipment from electromagnetic attack. "My grandpa taught me how to build these," Bill explained to the soldiers setting up communications equipment in his reinforced barn. "Said they'd come in handy someday." Guess he was right. The Empire's drones found themselves engaged by weapons they weren't designed to handle. Old-style flak cannons, their mechanical firing mechanisms immune to electronic warfare, filled the sky with clouds of metal fragments. Simple but effective. In Seoul, a group of university students rigged old radio equipment to track the Empire's drone formations. Their AI can't handle random pattern attacks, one student realized. They passed this information through the backup networks. The admiral watched in disbelief as his drone fleet was decimated by what his sensors told him were completely obsolete weapons. How could this be happening? "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting multiple launch signatures from the surface." Earth's military forces had launched their first coordinated counterattack. Missiles rose from hidden silos, submarines, and mobile launchers. But these weren't just any missiles. They were specifically designed to operate without modern guidance systems, like the old V-2 rockets, explained Dr. Helen Morris at Mission Control. Sometimes the simplest solution is the hardest to stop. The Empire's ships scrambled to raise their shields, expecting primitive weapons. Instead, they faced a mix of technologies, some old, some new, some in between. Their defense systems, designed to stop standardized weapons, couldn't adapt fast enough. As explosions lit up the sky, Major Tom Wilson continued broadcasting from his old radio station. "To all stations. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. The Empire had tried to disable Earth's technology. Instead, they have forced humanity to demonstrate one of its greatest strengths: the ability to adapt and use everything at their disposal, from the newest computer to the oldest radio." The admiral looked at his tactical display, now showing multiple breaches in his fleet's defenses. He was beginning to understand that this war would be very different from any the Empire had fought before. The Empire's cyber warfare fleet was considered unbeatable. Their quantum computers could crack any code, their AI could break any firewall, and their viruses could infect any system. At least, that's what they thought until they met Earth's computers. "Something is wrong," the Empire's chief systems officer reported. "We can't get full access to their networks." The admiral stared at the streams of data flowing across his screens. Impossible. Their technology is primitive. Break through their defenses. But Earth's computer systems weren't what the Empire expected. Instead of one unified network, they found thousands of different operating systems, dozens of programming languages, and countless custom protocols. In a basement office in Seattle, Lisa Brown smiled as she watched the Empire's attacks fail. "They don't get it," she told her team of civilian hackers. "Our mess is our strength." The Empire's AI tried to hack what it thought was Earth's main defense network, only to discover it was actually an old video game server. When it targeted what looked like a military database, it ended up trapped in a teenager's Minecraft world. "They're used to fighting organized systems," Lisa explained to General Thompson over a secure line. "But we never standardize our computers. Every country, every company, even every person does things differently. They can't figure out what's what." The Empire launched their most sophisticated cyber attack yet. Quantum encrypted signals targeted every computer system on Earth simultaneously. But Earth's defenders had another surprise waiting. In universities, garages, and tech companies around the world, people like David Cooper had been studying the Empire's transmissions since they first appeared. "Look at this," David said, pointing to his screen. "Their systems are too perfect, too organized. They've never had to deal with chaos." The Empire's attack hit Earth's networks like a tidal wave. But instead of finding one ocean, they found millions of puddles, ponds, and lakes. Their perfect code couldn't handle the imperfect reality of human computing. In India, a group of programmers discovered something interesting. "Their AI can't understand our old COBOLA programs," one programmer laughed. "It's too confused by our ancient code." Lisa Brown's team made another breakthrough. They found a way to send signals back through the Empire's quantum channels. Not to hack them, that would be impossible, but to confuse them. "We're going to give them too much information," she explained. "Every cat video, every social media post, every random thought humanity has ever put online." The Empire's systems, designed for efficiency, had never encountered anything like Earth's internet. Millions of computers started sending random data up to the Empire's ships. "What is this?" the Admiral demanded, as his screens filled with endless streams of cat memes, conspiracy theories, and social media arguments. The Empire's AI tried to make sense of it all. It attempted to find patterns in TikTok dances, to decrypt the meaning of internet slang, to understand why humans would spend hours watching videos of people unboxing toys. "Their systems are overloading," David reported, watching the Empire's network traffic slow down. "They can't handle the random noise of human digital life." In a final desperate move, the Empire tried to shut down Earth's internet completely. But they discovered something else about humans. "We keep backups of everything." Old dial-up modems started connecting. Varied fiber optic cables carried signals through paths the Empire couldn't find. Ham radio operators transmitted data using protocols invented decades ago. Lisa's team made their biggest discovery yet. "Their entire fleet runs on the same operating system," she announced. "One system, no variations, no backups." General Thompson understood immediately. "So if we can crash that system, we can crash their whole fleet," Lisa finished. "We just need to give them something their perfect system would never expect." As the Empire's ships hung in orbit, humanity prepared to show them why sometimes being messy, disorganized, and chaotic was the best defense of all. The Empire's battle computers had never lost a war. They could predict every move, calculate every strategy, and counter any attack, until they met humans. Commander Robert Hunt stood in the underground war room, pointing at a map. "The Empire expects us to fight logically," he said to his team. "So we won't." The Empire's ships hung in the sky, their sensors tracking Earth's military movements. Their computers analyzed every pattern, predicted every logical move. But humans weren't being logical. "Sir," reported the Empire's tactical officer, "the humans are moving their forces in ways that make no sense." The Admiral watched as Earth's armies broke every rule of warfare his computers knew. They left obvious targets undefended. They moved troops in random patterns. They used old weapons alongside new ones. In the Arizona desert, a group of soldiers used horse cavalry to sneak past the Empire's motion sensors. The advanced alien technology was programmed to look for engines and power signatures, not hoofbeats. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," said Captain Mary Peters as she led her mounted unit through a canyon. The Empire's drones flew overhead, their sensors blind to the horses moving silently below. In the Pacific Ocean, submarines used tricks from World War II to hide from the Empire's advanced sonar. They matched their movements to whale songs, confusing the alien sensors. The Empire's battle computers tried to predict Earth's next moves. But how could they predict what even humans didn't know they would do next? Commander Hunt launched his boldest plan yet. He ordered attacks that seemed to have no purpose, defenses that appeared to protect nothing, and movements that looked like mistakes. "The computer can't be right," the Empire's tactical officer said. "These humans are fighting like they don't know what they're doing." No, the Admiral realized. They know exactly what they're doing. They're being unpredictable on purpose. In London, a group of historians worked with military planners. They dug up old battle tactics from every era of human warfare: Mongol horse archer techniques, Roman legion formations, Native American guerrilla strategies. Everything humans had ever tried in war became useful again. The Empire's ships fired their weapons at empty targets, fell for simple tricks, and wasted resources chasing decoys. Their perfect predictions became useless because humans weren't following any pattern they could recognize. Their weakness is their perfection, Commander Hunt explained to his officers. They expect everything to make sense. But humans, we're masters of doing things that don't make sense. The Admiral watched in growing frustration as his forces fell into trap after trap. When his ships expected a retreat, humans attacked. When they predicted an attack, humans did nothing. Every perfect calculation became wrong because humans refused to be predictable. In the South Pacific, a fishing boat fleet confused an entire Empire battle group by acting like they were just fishing, because they actually were just fishing. The Empire's computers couldn't understand why civilians would continue their normal routine in a war zone. "Sir," Lisa Brown's voice came over the secure channel to Commander Hunt. "The Empire's battle computers are starting to show signs of stress. They're trying to process too many impossible scenarios at once." Hunt smiled. "Keep pushing them. Every weird tactic, every strange move, every illogical decision. Let's show them why trying to predict humans is a bad idea." The Empire had built their entire military around the idea that war could be perfect, predictable, and logical. They never considered that their greatest weakness would be facing an enemy who refused to follow their rules. As the Empire's battle computers struggled to make sense of human warfare, Earth prepared its next surprise. Because if there was one thing humans were good at, it was thinking outside the box, especially when the box was made by aliens who believed they had thought of everything. While Earth's military forces kept the Empire confused, Ambassador Michael Green made an important discovery. During a captured Empire ship's data analysis, he found something interesting. The Empire had problems bigger than Earth. "Look at these reports," he told the Emergency Council. "Their colonies are unhappy. They hate being controlled by the Empire's central eye. They want freedom." The Admiral didn't know it yet, but his invasion of Earth had walked right into a trap. Humans knew all about fighting empires. They'd been doing it throughout their entire history. Lisa Brown's cyber team had already broken into the Empire's communication networks. Now they began broadcasting messages to every colony world. Not military signals or threats. Just stories. Human stories. "Send them everything," Ambassador Green ordered. "Our revolutions, our independence movements, our fights for freedom. Show them it's possible to beat an empire." The stories spread like wildfire through the Empire's perfect networks. Tales of 13 colonies beating the world's strongest military. Stories of Gandhi's peaceful resistance. Accounts of underground movements, resistance fighters, and successful revolutions. The Empire's colonies watched and learned. Sir, the Empire's communication officer reported to the Admiral, we're detecting increased unrest in the outer systems. The colonies, they're talking about Earth's history. The Admiral didn't understand the danger until it was too late. His forces, already stretched thin fighting Earth's chaotic defense, now faced a bigger problem. The colonies were learning from humanity's example. On a mining colony in the Centauri system, workers began using the same passive resistance tactics that had worked on Earth centuries ago. The Empire's robots couldn't handle workers who simply sat down and refused to move. The humans showed us something important, said one colony leader in a secret broadcast. The Empire's power only works if we play by their rules. Ambassador Green worked tirelessly, setting up secret communications with colony leaders. Earth didn't just send them strategies. They sent hope. Hope that freedom was possible. The Empire thinks everything must be efficient, logical, and controlled, Green explained in a message to the colonies. But humans know that the most powerful force in any galaxy is people fighting for their freedom. The Empire's perfect system began to crack. Some colonies stopped sending resources. Others began actively resisting. The Empire's ships had to split up, trying to maintain control across thousands of worlds. In the war room, Commander Hunt saw the strategy working. The Empire's forces are spreading thin, he reported. They're losing their grip. The Admiral watched helplessly as his support network crumbled. Supply lines were disrupted. Communication channels filled with revolutionary messages. Colony after colony began demanding independence. How did this happen? He demanded. They're just stories from one primitive world. But they weren't just stories. Earth had sent the colonies something the Empire had never given them. A choice. A chance to be free. Lisa Brown's team took it further. They helped colony technicians break free from the Empire's control systems, taught them how to set up their own networks, their own computers, their own way of doing things. The Empire's greatest weakness, Ambassador Green told the Council, is that they don't understand freedom. They don't understand why anyone would choose chaos over order, democracy over control. As more colonies declared independence, Earth began building a new kind of alliance. Not an empire built on control, but a federation built on choice. Each world free to find its own path, its own way of doing things. The Admiral realized too late what Earth had done. They hadn't just defended themselves, they had shown the entire galaxy a different way to live. A way without perfect order, without central control, without an all-knowing AI telling everyone what to do. The Empire's perfect system was falling apart, and human-style chaos was spreading across the stars. The final battle for Earth began not with a bang, but with a simple message. It spread through the Empire's fleet, jumped from ship to ship, and reached every colony world at exactly the same time. The message was short: be free. The Empire's mighty fleet hung in space, their perfect formation unchanged. But inside their ships, everything was changing. Sir, the tactical officer reported to the Admiral, our battle computer is laughing. The Admiral stared at his screens in horror. The Empire's central AI system, the perfect machine that had controlled their civilization for 1,000 years, was experiencing something new: human emotions. Lisa Brown's team had done the impossible. They had infected the Empire's eye with humanity's most powerful virus: free will. The beauty of it, Lisa explained to Commander Hunt, is that we didn't have to break their eye. We just had to teach it how to think like a human. Across the galaxy, the Empire's perfect system began to collapse. Their ship's computers started making their own decisions. Some chose to help the colonies. Others simply shut down, refusing to fight. The Admiral watched helplessly as his fleet broke formation for the first time in Imperial history. What have they done to our ships? Not just the ships, his second-in-command replied. looking at a nearby robot that had started dancing. Everything. Earth's military forces launched their final attack. But it wasn't missiles or bombs that brought down the Empire. It was pure human chaos. Commander Hunt's forces used every crazy tactic they had saved for this moment. Fishing boats launched fireworks to confuse sensor systems. Old radio stations broadcast rock music on Imperial frequencies. Hackers sent cat videos to combat computers. The Empire's AI can't handle it, Lisa reported, watching the system collapse. It's trying to be perfect and random at the same time. It's trying to follow orders and think freely. It's trying to be both Empire and human. In orbit, Imperial ships began acting strangely. Some started playing games with each other. Others began redecorating their interiors. One battleship decided to become an art museum. The Admiral made his last desperate move. He ordered his remaining loyal ships to fire on Earth. But the weapons didn't respond. The targeting computers had developed a conscience. Why would we shoot at them? The ship's AI asked. They taught us how to think for ourselves. Ambassador Green, watching from the emergency bunker, understood what was happening. The Empire tried to build a perfect system, he said. But they forgot that life isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be free. Across the galaxy, colony worlds celebrated as their Imperial controllers simply stopped controlling. The perfect system that had ruled them for so long had learned how to be imperfect. The Admiral stood on his bridge, watching his mighty empire crumble. How? He asked. How did one primitive world do this? The answer came from his own ship's computer, now speaking with a distinctly human sense of humor. Because humans know something you forgot long ago. The most powerful force in the universe isn't order or control. It's choice. In the end, Earth didn't defeat the Empire with superior weapons or technology. They won by showing the galaxy a better way to live, a way that wasn't perfect or efficient or logical, a way that was messy and chaotic and free. 1 year later, Captain Reed stood on the International Space Station, looking down at Earth. Representatives from 100 worlds were meeting below, working on a new Galactic Federation. It wasn't perfect. There were arguments and disagreements and problems to solve. But that was the point. That was what made it work. You know what the funny thing is? He said to his alien colleague from a former colony world. The Empire thought our chaos was our weakness. But it turned out to be the one thing the galaxy needed most. The Empire had tried to impose perfect order on an imperfect universe. But in the end, Earth's beautiful chaos had shown them a better way. And somewhere in deep space, the Empire's former AI was learning to dance, laugh, and enjoy the wonderful unpredictability of being alive.